morning. Good morning. Happy Halloween. Yeah, some of you are in the spirit. I see some costumes. The entire Mystery Van Scooby-Doo gang is down here towards the front. I believe they are missing Velma, who is not here, and so that's really sad. But congratulations. Well done. I am dressed up this morning. I'm dressed up as your campus pastor. Hey, hey, real quick, question, show of hands. Raise your hand if you are a student athlete. All right, so one or two of you. Right, got it. Well, listen, there's been a bit of a shift. Listen. Hey, can you shut off music, Chris? That'd be cool. Thanks. Oh, by the way, hey, for those of you coming in this morning, I happened to be in Professor Chris Gates' office this morning, and I completely and totally destroyed him at chess. Like, wasn't even close. It was not. So, Chris's exact words were about halfway through the game. He's like, "I thought you sucked more." And I was like, "I don't, and you're about to lose." Hey, just to let you know, we've had a bit of a shift. We're moving out of fall athletics. A lot of you fall athletes are finishing up your seasons, and so we're excited for all that you have done so far this year. And then we're already, our winter sports have started. The girls basketball team did an amazing job Friday evening, played an amazing game. And if you were there, you saw that. The wrestlers had a great weekend as well. And so we're celebrating all that's happening on campus in those ways. As we talk about sports and as we talk about celebration, we also want to acknowledge that our golf team has just returned from nationals. Yeah, let's hear it for our golfers. And on that, sorry, I got distracted because there's a giant chocolate chip cookie that just walked in. They're next to milk. And I'm hungry. All right, on that note, I'd like to bring up golf coach Kyle Moody to share a little bit more about nationals. Let's hear it for Kyle.
Good morning. First of all, I'd like to say thanks for having me, Zach, and I am winging this today. All right, to tell you a little bit about our trip. First of all, we were to get there, our golf teams our men's team won a regional championship here at Turkey Creek. And then our women were actually our regional representatives. They didn't have a regional tournament, but they scored well enough on the national rankings to win that award to go represent our region for NCCA. So that's how we got there. Secondly, I will say that then we got to go to nationals. We get to go to Florida. So we were in Florida for a week at Palm Coast, and if I had a picture, I would show you, but I don't. So just imagine palm trees, beach, the ocean, all that kind of stuff. It was really great. Not to rub that in your face at all. But we got to stay in a place called Hammock Beach Resort. And we had the men's condo was actually on the 8th floor, and it overlooked the hot tubs down below. And there's a story behind this. I just want to let you know that Coach Moody actually won the Wingman of the Year award at the Hammock Beach Resort. Right there, Max Burleson. You're welcome, buddy. All right. If you want to know the details of that story, Max Burleson will tell you everything. Max, raise your hand so everybody knows who you are. Right there. And so, but to finish the story, we went there. We competed well. Our guys finished 5th in the tournament, and we had one NCCAA All-American and Noah Fix. Our women, congratulations, Noah. Our women competed well too. There's a great story, but I'm going to let Lenny tell you about that a little bit when he comes up here in just a second, or Dr. Favara. But our women, we had two All-Americans on the women's side, and Cammie Wood and Michaela Albert. So right now, what I always like to do is like have the whole golf team come up here so we can recognize you. So come on, guys, girls, come on. Right here in front. Right here in front. Yeah. Where's Olivia? Oh, she's working. Okay. All right. I would also like to have Max Burleson and JD Langford come up, please. So I'm gonna point out Max and JD here real quick. These guys came and they helped us out as assistant coaches, and they were rock stars all week long, doing everything that we needed them to do, which was everything from get water to give advice on the course. So can we get a round of applause for these guys? They did an excellent job. And here are our men's teams. Noah, raise your hand. Noah is our All-American, NCCA All-American, finished 5th overall in the tournament. And then, let's see, Michaela finished 8th on the women's side in the tournament, NCCAA All-American. And Cammie finished right in front of her at number 7. She's also NCCAA All-American. So if you guys would stand and give these guys a round of applause, please. Good job, guys. You can have a seat now.
So I'd like to share with you this morning just a little bit about my experience related to the golf team, which is, as a president of the college, a lot of questions I get. Everyone wants. Here's pretty typical: more time, more money, more things. That's pretty typical of what I hear on a regular basis. We need more money to do this. We need more things to do this. We need more equipment to do this. We need more buildings. And my job is to try to figure that out, which means most of the time I don't make many people happy because I just don't have more money and more buildings and more things necessarily. Part of that is related to athletics. As president of a college, it's difficult sometimes because there's different views about the role of athletics at the college setting. I want to be very clear about what my role is about athletics. I love athletics. I think athletics can be a strong part of a college's culture and can do a lot related to our mission, which is Christ-centered education for character. But a lot of people get that confused sometimes because as a president, I'm not able just to hand out tons and tons of money, at least in the situation we're in, tons and tons of money to do such and such. But I want to be very clear about my vision, my idea of what athletics should look like. And that's part of what makes me so proud about the team going to nationals is we want that to happen. I was just talking to Coach Hoxie this morning about where the guys are standing and whether we're going to be able to do regionals or an at-large bid. I want you to understand. Now, I think I've shared this. I think at least with the wrestling team, because I think it's a vision of understanding how you as an athlete fall into this idea of Christ-centered education for character. Because that can be a little bit tricky. This idea that you go out and compete and that you fight in order to win, but yet we ask you to be people of character. And to me, it's really all centered in the story of David. I don't know how much you've read about the story of David, but David was a king under God. And interesting story, he started as a shepherd. If you know, he ended up as a king. We know that he wrote a lot of the Psalms, and so he was a musician. He did all that, but we also know that he was a warrior, and sometimes it's hard for people to understand how did all that work together. But I love the image of David as a warrior, because one of the things we know about David is he loved God with all his heart, mind, soul, and strength. All right? He was a true definition of the type of character that we would want to display. I'm not saying he didn't make mistakes along the way. That happens, but he definitely shows us what that looks like. And for me, for athletics, when I look at David, David primarily was a warrior, and his job was to go out and to conquer things. And when he did that, he did it with all his heart, soul, mind, and strength. I mean, he went through and destroyed the enemy. When God said, I don't want anyone left in that city, I don't want one stone on top of another, he went in and he destroyed them every time. I want you to understand, as athletes, I expect no less from you. And I don't think that's a problem with character. When you go and you compete on this college's behalf, it's with the understanding that you should do so with your whole heart, soul, mind, and strength, with everything, with the idea of destroying the enemy. Now, destroying looks a little different at college athlete. We're not out to kill or to destroy their buildings, but we are out to win. And I think you need to understand that from my position here as president of the college, I expect you to win. I want the manners. We took, what is it, a ring? We get a ring sometimes. I want a ring before I die. I encourage you to go out and to fight hard and do what you do. Now, there is a whole side of this, which is, I think that we can do that. The NCCA uses a slogan about chasing rings and chasing the king. Chasing the ring and chasing the king. I think we can do that with a balance. That we can go after rings while keeping our eye on the king. And so I want to share a story this morning that happened relative to the golf team that I think portrays this. So less than 24 hours, I think it was 24 hours, I think you walked in my office, less than 24 hours before the golf teams were headed for nationals, Coach Moody comes into my office and told me that the women's golf team might not be able to represent Central Christian College due to some circumstances that occurred that would keep two ladies from participating. After some discussion, which really went all over the place, but came down to the idea that Michaela's dad, who is very ill, would love nothing more than to see her daughter play at the national level. It was decided that if suitable substitutes could be found, that the institution would allow the team to travel. Enter Olivia and Celeste. Go ahead. Okay. Though not having swung a club in some time, and the fact that both were deep into their fall softball training, they were willing to lay aside their mitts and tee up for the team. A decision that was supported by Coach Balbin, which I also like to recognize. So in less than 24 hours, these ladies had to dig up clubs, squirts, shoes, rearrange their schedules, make academic preparations, and lo and behold, when it came time for the bus to leave, these two ladies were ready to go. To be honest, after their departure, I have to admit, I didn't give it much thought. I didn't give the situation much thought. I knew the teams were headed down there, and I was eager to see how they would fare. And hearing about the recognition of 3 All-Americans was a real treat for me. However, it was not until nationals were over and the teams were already headed back to campus that I received the real reward, the real blessing. And it was late in the evening, about 9 o'clock, when I received an email from Dan Wood, who's the executive director of the NCCAA. And I share the essence of that email with you now, which to me truly encapsulates what we are trying to achieve here at Central Christian. It begins, Kyle and Lenny, having just crowned the winners of the 2022 NCCAA Golf Championship, I am compelled to reflect on the difference between winners and champions. Bethel University women, they're winners. Malone University men, they are winners. The 5 ladies that represented Central Christian College of Kansas and their coach and the student athletes and other coaches who made the decisions allowing Olivia and Celeste to attend, to me, they are the true champions. Because I watched these 2 young ladies shoot daily scores that most golfing student athletes would not exactly want to shoot at the national level. You can look at the scores. We're 200 strokes above the place before us. But hear this. I watched them do so with a joy and a freedom and an understanding that they were here serving the other 3 teammates. And to be honest, they were serving the whole Central Christian College of Kansas brand. Central Christian now has 2 NCCAA All-American women golfers thanks to these ladies. And that's quite an achievement to have 2 All-Americans on the same team, the team that actually posted in last place. But that was because you had 2 champions on the team, Olivia and Celeste. Go ahead. From all of us who got to witness it, thank you for making a very difficult decision to let this team come. It's the best king chasing I've seen in the NCCAA in many a year. Dan Wood, NCCAA Executive Director. I just like this campus to congratulate these 2 ladies for demonstrating the highest ideals of what Central Christian College is all about. Let's thank Olivia and Celeste for the work that they did.
Fantastic. So this morning, as we talk about chasing the king this morning, I want to hone in on this idea of character. We talk about character a lot here. We're Christ-centered education for character, and we're people of character, and we look at Celeste and Olivia, and we say that demonstrates character. And so I wanted to take some time this morning and talk about character. And so to do that, I've invited some coaches. I've invited a few coaches, athletic representatives to join me, and we're just going to have a conversation, a panel conversation about character. So coaches, representatives, if you come and join me, that'd be great. I like that you're cheering like you think it's going to be a cage match. Like that's hilarious to me. Hey, also, just to let you know, so that this isn't a conversation that happens in a vacuum where I decide questions ahead of time and you just sit and watch. We have, Ben, if you go to the next slide, we have an opportunity for you to ask questions in real time. So if you want to follow those prompts, I will receive your questions here, and then I will decide whether it is a question worth asking the panel, if that makes sense. All right, here's what I want to do, panel. This is going to be so much fun. Oh, I'm so excited about this moment. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a question that I want you all to answer, and as you answer it, why don't you go ahead and say your name, introduce yourself, maybe talk about which sport you are here representing, in case somehow the room doesn't know. Josh, we're going to start down here with you. So here's the question that I would like you each to spend a very brief amount of time answering. The first question is this. Please define the word character.
Well, my name is Joshua Macharia. Tea tonight, so I got you guys. I coach women's soccer, and I'm glad to be here. I think for me, the word character means a sum of things you've done or things observed. So I think it takes a while. It takes consistency for us to know that's a character of that person, of that thing, or I just think it takes time and consistency.
Thank you. I'm Mrs. Brown, and I am the women's athletic representative for the ladies in the group. And one of the things that I think of when I think of character is people who are authentic, credible, and showing ethics even when people aren't watching. And it is definitely tied to behavior.
Hello, I'm Tony Romero, the men's basketball coach here. I love y'all too. So, when I think of character, I think it's something we definitely talk to our guys a lot about, and some do better than others with it. But I think it's something that drives our decisions and our actions daily. It's kind of what we tell our guys. It's the who and the makeup of who we are. And I think it's also, to piggyback on what Kathy just said, it's not just putting ourselves in position to do the right thing when people are in the presence of others. I think it's also putting ourselves in position to do the right thing when no one is watching. So,
Stephen McNett, I'm the head baseball coach.
I wish some of your guys were in chapel this morning. It's unfortunate.
For me, the definition of character is what you do when times are tough. It's easy to quit, but that's for cowards. Character is when people aren't around and looking for you to do the right thing. It's when things get tough. And as young adults, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead, sorry, Zach, like when times get tough, your character shows out. Are you a guy who throws his hoodie on and ducks out? Or are you a guy who puffs his chest up and goes to work? And that's one thing we talk about in our program is we don't want cowards. We want guys who have intestinal fortitude and go out there and compete with character. And I hope that's what you guys do too. No cowards. Isn't it the right word? Right. Well, I can't say testament. I can't say testament.
That's hard to follow. My name is Rick Hughes. I'm the head men and women volleyball coach. All right, I think you won on that one. I think I lost that one. Definition of character. Ditto. At the same time, I think character is, when I say it quickly, it's who you are, not who you show us you are. Who you are will show up in times of stress, times of trouble. Who you are shows up in times of high emotion. And I think in those moments we can really see character in people. And like everybody said so far, it's something that's developed. It's something that's honed. It's something that's changed over time. And at the same time, it's I don't know. It just kind of leads everything you do. So there's a jumbled definition for you. You're welcome. You're good.
I'm Aaron Hoxie, men's soccer. For me, in short, in this context, character simply means behavior based on a standard. And the standard is the variable that exists in this equation.
Yeah. All right. So unless I receive a question directed at a particular coach, the rest of these questions are sort of fair game. So whoever wants to answer, and when I get a sense that I think we've spent enough time and we're good, I'll move on to the next question. All right. So here's a question for anyone who wants to answer. As you've now all sort of articulated a definition of character, do you think there's a difference in having good character and being a good person? Like, is there a difference in that? Is having a character and being a good person, are those different? If they are different, how so? In what way?
I think I would say you can meet a person today and think they're pretty good. They speak well. We're a fast generation where you see someone, you want things fast. So you can make a judgment on someone very quickly and say, I think they sound very cool, they sound very good. And even as we say that, I think character takes time to know that's who they are and not what they show. I think one of the coaches said that. There's a reflective part of character that's different. And character also matches the environment you're in. A good character for us might not be a good character everywhere, and a bad character for us might not be a bad character everywhere, just because of the environment they're in. I have friends who do and go to different places for school, and the definition for them and for us here will be different. So I think a good person, you can know them by fast, you meet them and go, I think they are good people. But good character, spend time with them, get to know them, get to know why they do what they do, and that allows you kind of go, yeah, they think they're good character.
Real quick before somebody jumps in, if it was saying the poll's not open, it is now. I clicked a button. Sorry. You said your questions. All right. Sorry. Continue, coaches.
I agree with Josh. Good character is also defined where you are. If you look at a fictional character, if you've seen American Gangster, Frank, the main guy, like he has good character for his group, but I wouldn't necessarily say he was a good person. And then even in some of the religious world, I mean, we have people who claim to be Christian and are out there doing non-Christian things, and that's not good character. I mean, that's part of the character. It's what group are you in, and like Josh said, where we are, what we define as character, should align with our biblical principles. And if you're not, then you're not a person of character, and that doesn't matter what realm. If you're pastor, coach, athletic director, preacher, president, whatever, you have to live by what we're defining as character. But you can be a good person.
Any more on that? Or I have some questions from the floor if you're ready. Yeah, some of y'all are laughing. I'm not asking those questions. Does character influence playing time?
Yes. If I don't like you, then you're not going to play. That's not to say if you're not playing, I don't like you. I like my guys this year.
I would say no, character doesn't create playing opportunities for you. While yes, having high character is important, I want to win, and so that doesn't detract from what our goals are for you guys as young men for my team, and it's my job as the head coach to live out what character is and not just tell you what character is, because I think that's a big part of it too. But to sit here and say that for me, if you're a good character person, you automatically play would be a lie. But if you break rules, you don't play.
I like what both of them have had to say so far. Yes, I like that answer. And then does it automatically get you playing time? No. I think some of that is going to change depending on the sport as well. There are sports where an individual can stand out and really do a lot of good things and help a team. And then there are sports where if one person isn't on the same page as everybody else, things can fall apart. So I think there are situational issues to talk about in there, but at the same time, skill is not dependent upon character, but character definitely goes a long way when it comes to team chemistry. And if you like, I think this is what Hoxie's referring to. I want to enjoy my job. I want to enjoy the people I'm around. So I'm definitely looking at character because I don't want to go coach a bunch of jerks every day. But at the same time, character doesn't automatically result in playing time.
This is another question that you didn't have ahead of time. So I'm sorry for the ones that you didn't get ahead of time. So this is from someone out there. Are there times when coaches have to choose between supporting good character and winning games? How do you wrestle within that tension?
Yes, there are times.
Can you elaborate, please?
How do I wrestle with it? I wrestle with it.
Someone besides Rick.
I'm just, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. No, I've had to experience this throughout most of my career, everywhere I've coached. There's always the desire to win. You heard the president of the college stand up here and say he wants us to win. We all want to win. That's why they keep score, right? At the same time, ultimately, our job is to develop young people into upstanding citizens in society. So there are times, absolutely, that we have to go, you know what? We have to focus on character right now. We've got to make sure that we're doing things the right way. And then there are times where it's like, okay, character is fine. Go win, right? Do the thing the right way, and let's go get it done.
I think, it's very true because I don't think character is a place we get to and now we're good, so now we're good character people, so now from here on we're good, we'll play. I think it's a growth thing that we're doing. It's a journey we're walking and you're going, that person is growing, that person is growing. I think the best example to look at all through scripture, that we are growing into becoming better. So if I have a team that have a ton of character issues, we can't say we won't play a game because we have issues with character. The goal is how can we help our team get to where we need to get. Now, if a choice is two players who are evenly matched, but you're looking between character and no character, then I choose the character person, right? But if I'm looking at a game and I'm going, okay, we want to win this game, we want to play in this game, what will help my team more? To understand being good and losing a game, or to understand if you're good, doesn't matter what you act like. And that's a place I have to wrestle with. I think the honesty of what I choose is that I share it with my team for why I chose it. And I think that builds their character and helps build my own character because I'm not there yet. I think we're all in a journey, and you choose that which helps the journey you're taking. And then results will come, winning or losing.
I think all of us would probably not be completely transparent and honest if saying that's something that we all haven't wrestled with at some point in our careers as coaches. And I think it's something that's difficult. I think it's got a lot of layers to it. But at the end of the day, I think we all want to win. We all want to compete at a high level the best we possibly can. But I think our job as coaches and the platform we serve on is to hold you guys accountable. And I think accountability brings discipline into people's lives. And if we don't have tough conversations and tough moments and be able to, I think sometimes taking basketball away from our guys is the thing that speaks most to their lives at this point in their life. And if that's something that needs to occur at the cost of winning or the cost of competing at the level that we want to because of a person's talents or abilities, that gives us to do that at a better opportunity, then that's something as coaches and as leaders, I think we got to willfully take hold of because we're trying to lead you guys the best we possibly can. I think the same was probably afforded to us as our opportunities we played growing up and competing in athletics too. So I think accountability is a huge part of competition. So.
lots of questions about how much particular coaches can bench. So I would encourage you after this is over to talk to them about their weightlifting abilities. Also, some stuff on hair loss in coaches. So correlation between good character and hair loss. I just want to acknowledge that I am getting your questions. So keep them coming. All right. Oh, in case you're interested, there is something about the superiority of the Hoxie bloodline as well. There's just my day over here with this iPad is phenomenal. Coaches, I would love your perspective on how your relationship with Jesus influences you as a coach.
I think a good example of the way Christ or Jesus, lived out his ministry was exactly like that. He lived it out. I think nowadays, especially for you young group, you guys don't want me to tell you how to live. You want me to show you. I think you guys are now, this generation coming up, are quicker to call out frauds. And you guys are quicker because you guys are more knowledgeable than what we had at our disposal. And I think, number one, that's a good thing for you guys. But how my relationship with Christ affects the character, right? That was your question?
How does your relationship with Jesus influence you as a coach?
I mean, again, I feel like I have to walk my ministry the same way Christ walked his. I can't tell, Pelosi to go out there and lift if I don't lift. I can't tell my guys to make sure that they're on top of their grades if I'm not on top of my grades. I can't tell them to be good boyfriends if I'm not going to be a good husband. And I think that that's an important thing to teach because, again, it would be very easy for me to say, Pelosi, you need to be a good man, and then I'm out there doing something shady just because I'm the head of the program. And I think that should go throughout the entire thing, the school, your lives, your families, your future families. If you're going to be a leader, whether you are a male or a female, being a leader isn't gender specific. If you're going to be the leader of your household, it's how do you go about your day by day. One day, and these guys are far ahead of me on this, one day you guys will have kids, and they're going to look at you and how you live. You can't tell your kids to stay out of the cookie jar, and you're in there, elbow deep. And I think that that's something that you guys, I'm just being real, right?
How big is your cookie jar, bro?
I don't know what you just said, but I'm just saying, like, that's how my relationship with Christ impacts my coaching. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. As much as my players think I am, I'm not. But that's how my relationship works.
For me, and I'm borrowing words from an article that I read because it has the Bible verse in it that I want to share. And I'm actually surprised it hasn't come up yet. Anyway, in the Bible, Jesus tells us that it's not going to be easy, right? He tells us it's going to be hard. He tells us that if we stand up for him, we're going to be hated, right? It's in the red words, okay? He says that. Things that always stand out to me whenever people start to talk about character is Romans chapter 5, 3-5, right? It says, more than that, we rejoice in our sufferings, knowing that suffering produces endurance, and endurance produces character, and character produces hope, and hope does not put us to shame because God's love has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit who has been given to us. It says right there, right? Sufferings. That's where it starts, right? So you suffer, and the more you go through those sufferings, you're starting to develop endurance. And the more you endure, the better your character becomes. And then as that character improves and grows, you start to have hope. And hope is kind of what pushes you forward. So when I think about my relationship with Jesus and how it relates to my character and things like that, I know things are going to be hard. I know things are going to be crummy, right? I know it's not going to be all roses and sunshine. So since I know that already, And I know that Romans says if I keep going, if I keep walking, if I keep enduring, I'm going to become a better person, and things are going to get better, knowing that eventually it will produce more suffering, which then produces more character. That's kind of how I view my relationship with Jesus and character.
I have a couple that have come in. That was you can go back and answer that one if there's a lull, but I have a couple that I really want to get you that have come in from students that I think are really great. One is for Kathy specifically. Kathy, can you talk about, do you think that there's a difference in the way maybe women struggle with character to how men struggle with character? Can you talk a little bit about that? And then is there anything that men on campus can do intentionally, knowing that there are particular ways that women struggle with character? That question makes sense? I'm
There's a
reading
lot
it
to
verbatim.
unpack there.
Yeah. Good luck.
Okay, I really believe that there are different sets of issues that people will face, whether you're a man or a woman. Sometimes those are equal and sometimes those are not. I don't really think that there's one particular group that should be doing something for another particular group, because that's not why we're doing something. What was the second part of that question about? I'm sorry.
Is there something, if we can be, if we are aware on campus in a way that maybe girls struggle in character, is there something that the guys on campus can intentionally do to help and aid in that in a positive way? I'm paraphrasing what I read on the screen.
Okay. Again, I think that's a lot to unpack, because it's like the question is referring to only guys are expected to do or say something so that they're not offensive to men, to women on campus. And I really don't think that that's the case. I think that there's a lot of things that each group can do to help the other side. And I think that it goes beyond ourselves. I think if you're bringing respect to yourself and you're bringing respect to other people, whether you're male or female, then that's going to help with that. If there's a very specific, I don't know who asked the question, but if you want more specifics, I'm more than happy to talk to you about that privately, I guess, because I think there's a little bit more to that question than how it was phrased.
There are some phenomenal questions that are coming through here, and we're not going to have time for all of them. So coaches on the panel, what I can promise is that I will email you all of the questions, and we'll find a way for you to, especially because there's some that are specifically for you. Coach McNett, there's one here, explain what the character of a soft serve is and why it's bad. Man, if it's in every hashtag, I think we should unpack it. So there's some really great stuff, but I want to get to one last question that I'd like each of you to answer. Do you want to do that real fast?
No, I actually wanted to touch on what the question for Kathy.
Oh yeah,
real
go
quick.
ahead.
I think that part of that, the first part of that question could be answered easily is men need to start being men. And that means, well, I mean, like what I mean with that is the Bible has called men to be leaders, and they've called men to lead. And men can no longer stand behind their moms and dads or the women and expect them to do everything. Now, I will say this. Ladies, you are far more powerful than you are given credit for. And that is something that you need to take moving forward. And especially in the biblical world. I mean, the Bible has several examples of where strong women led a change. And that's something that for you ladies, the question of what can you do to help the men, that's on them. It's your job to be leaders of yourselves as well. You guys, you ladies are strong Christian ladies. And so you should hold yourself to that standard, and you should hold yourselves in high regards. You are second to no one, especially to another person. You are second to no one. And it's not your job to raise these men, just like it's not the men's job to control you. Understood?
So just to clarify, to put some more weight behind what Coach McNett just said, when he talks about men, your call is to be leaders. Specifically, biblically, your call is to be servant leaders. So the question is, as men on this campus, are you serving those around you? That's the call of biblical manhood, is to be servant leaders to those around you. All right, coaches, last question. All of you, I'd love for each of you to answer this. If you could say one thing to this campus as it relates to pursuing Christ-centered education for character, what would it be? Hoxie, we're going to start down with you and work backwards. I want to be fair to Josh.
I think for me, the biggest thing on this campus is going to come down to choice. We have a lot of people who choose to make decisions based on what they feel is of high character. And I think that's the problem with the phrase "they feel." There is no standard anymore. Everyone walks around and says, well, this is what is good in my home, this is what is good in my culture, and this is what is good in, fill in the blank. And that's a problem. When we deny the existence of a standard, an absolute standard, then the only thing that's left is chaos. And every single human being in here, including me, is capable of creating chaos because we make choices based on what we think is right instead of what is actually right. And that's a big difference. And I think for a lot of us on this campus, you're in a culture, you're in an environment, and I work in a culture and an environment that promotes the standard. And the standard is what is God's character? That is the standard, because God is morally right in that everything he does is the definition of morality, is the definition of truth and what is right. And any deviation from that is not. And so I feel like for us, all of us here on this campus, as we try to navigate life together and we try to teach you, and you guys are looking to us for guidance, I think as we navigate this together, remembering that ultimately that is what we're all trying to achieve, and that's what we're trying to teach you, and that's what you're trying to get. I think that is one of the most unique parts about what Christ-centered education for character really is. And I know it's I tell my guys all the time, honor, servant, all of these are key buzzwords, but they're buzzwords that are based on a standard. And as it relates to competition, as it relates to athletics, winning is a byproduct of that. That isn't to say if you're not winning, that you have poor character, you don't follow a standard. But if you're not winning, I can almost guarantee in every single situation, there's something, maybe multiple things, that is the root cause for that. But as it relates to our sport, it's literally, and I say it all the time, 22 dudes chasing one ball for 90 minutes. That's what soccer is. It's just we go this way, they go that way, the ball goes over there, someone gets it, we hoof it in, and that's what soccer is. It's an oversimplification, but how you do it is what's important. And I'm not talking about tactics and XYZ. I'm talking about who you are as a man. And at the end of the day, we take this principle and I say, here's my 11 dudes. You put your 11 dudes out there and we're going to be a better team. And results will follow.
No, you're good. That's speechless. My volleyball players are astounded right now. They're like, he's never speechless. He always sounds. Okay. I'm going to put this in my terms. The one thing I would tell you as a campus, as a group, as anybody, is don't avoid the tough. Don't look to make life easier just because you don't have to work as hard. There's a saying I'm trying to remember, and it's not going to happen because I'm going to screw it up. But essentially, the idea is, as things get easier, people get weaker, and as people get weaker, their character is going to degrade. So, are you struggling because classes are tough? I would say good. If you're struggling because playing time isn't what you wanted, I would say good. If you're struggling because somebody didn't talk to you the right way, as annoying as that will be, I would still say good. And I think the media would lead you to believe something different. The media would lead you to believe that you should take an easier path, that you shouldn't worry about standing for something and having character, that you should just be an individual, and everyone should not have any standards, which is similar to what Coach was saying. Go through the tough stuff. Go through it with your head held high. Go through it looking to seek more information, more knowledge, and go through it trying to find the best way to do those things, not the easiest. I think that's the short version of what's in my head.
Dr. Favara touched this at least when he first came up here. Is we always want more, and I would ask, what are you looking at? Like, are you out here looking at what you don't have, or are you looking at what we have? And do you have enough grit to go out there and fight for it and make it happen? And just remember that, above all, your family, and it's family over everything. It's making sure that you have each other's backs, that you are working with each other, you're working for each other. And it's not, well, hey, OCU has 6 gyms and 4 weight rooms and this, that, and the other, and we have this. Again, Dr. Favara talked about, David and how he went out there and fought Goliath. We are David. Whether you're whatever sport or if you're just a regular student, we are David. And if you go out there with a cowardice mindset of I'm supposed to because this is where I am, then you won't ever grow as a person, and we certainly won't grow as an organization. You need to look at it as, again, and I may quote this wrong, and sorry if I do, bib teachers, but David said, I've got the Lord by my side so I can go. And that's a very simplified answer to say, hey, we've got the Lord by our side and we can go. But don't look at yourself as a small group. Don't look at yourself as this was my last choice or this, that, and the other. Like, look at it as we are a united front and we go out there and we compete for and with each other. And at the end of the day, it's not what are we looking at, it's look what we have. At the end of the day, you will show that you have grit. And then, of course, family above everything.
All great stuff. I'm taking notes here too, just to share some of these things with my team. But one thing we probably lead, I think, as far as when we think about Christ-centered education for character, I think one, you guys chose to come to Central Christian College, and I don't think that was by accident. I think that was purpose that God put in front of you, an opportunity you chose to engage in and choose to come to school here. And my advice is, if you're going to choose to go to a school that is where Christian is proclaimed into the name of the institution, and that we hopefully are, as staff and faculty, are modeling that behavior and encouraging that behavior and hold you accountable to that behavior in a Christ-like way. One thing we share with our guys pertaining to this is a verse in Proverbs 10:9. It's kind of been a life verse of mine too. But it's he who walks with integrity walks securely. He who perverts his ways or makes his path crooked will be found out. And I think that's an accountability verse for us, because if the standard is Christ, if the standard is God, if that's the mission of our school and that's the mission that we're trying to live in this life, then doing the right thing should be based on biblical principle and to what Jesus' standard actually looks like in our life. And I don't think we could actually tap into that if we don't really tap into God's word. And so I think at the end of the day, we just had a team retreat last week In our Bible study, we talked in the book of James about not just being doers of or hearers of the word, but actually being doers of the word. And we can't actually be doers of the word if we're not trying to actually read God's word. And so God's word is convicting, and sometimes we ignore it because it is convicting into our life, and it holds truth and power, and it reveals things in us maybe we don't want to be, we don't want to see. But that Proverbs verse is something God laid on my heart to share with my guys, and they hear it. They'll get in the text on the weekends. They'll get in the text just randomly. And then toughness. And I think sometimes in your generation, we perceive toughness as this, oh, I'm big and bad. As a man, I'm going to be masculine. As a woman, you come at me, I'm going to come at you. And some of that may hold true, depending on where you're brought up at. But I think for us, what we share with our guys too is true toughness is doing the right thing when it's really, really hard to do the right thing. And again, I think that's biblical. Sometimes you're going to be faced with a lot of temptation out there. At your age, you guys are exposed to things at 18 to 22, 23 years old, that everything is so easily accessible in right in front of your face. And sometimes it's really hard to do the right thing. Sometimes it's really hard to be true toughness because you got pressures coming from all different directions. But I think practicing true toughness is the ability to do the right thing when it's really, really hard to do the right thing. And I think that, again, if Jesus is the standard and we base our choices based on that standard, hopefully we could operate as Proverbs 10:9 says, and hopefully operate with toughness.
Well, to piggyback off of what the gentleman before me had already said, having character really relates to our core four, and really specifically the heart of the core four. And like everyone before me has said, it is not easy to show good character, and it's not easy to do the right thing even when the rest of the people around you are not doing the right thing. But it's the one thing that, from our perspective, when we're looking out at you and we're looking for character, that's the one thing that you have control over, is how you react to situations and what you do and what you say. And those are not always easy. But through adversity, when you are using character to fall back on, it actually helps you become a better person.
I know I have to say one thing. I want to say two things, if that's okay.
Okay.
There's an old Wakanda saying, African saying, and if you need answering, Coach Haxi can give you a definition, but it says this in the mother tongue. Weka wega, nuewa eka. Kind of says if you do good, you're doing it to yourself. So on a campus like ours, I think the number one thing, through scripture you see it, especially Matthew 5:13, is we are salt, and if you believe we are salt for someone else, for something else, for some place. I think there's a uniqueness in being Central Christian. It's a land that we live in, we get to dwell in for a semester, but you need to know that it belongs to God, it's His. And so He's put you here for a reason. And if you want to know why you're here, ask Him. And when you ask Him, trust that He will tell you. And when He tells you, use it. So do good to those around you, because you end up doing it to yourself. The more good you do, the more you be a good person. Character is formed by consistency of good things you do. And that varies. Is it you're studying? Is it your training? Whatever you do, do good consistently for a long time. Realizing that He who's called you to this place is faithful to do that with you. I want to add this with us is that apart from doing good and being all that, I think this runs from a place of we need to get over ourselves. I think sometimes we think we're the blessing that people have to get to see or get to have. Our scripture for this year with my team was Psalms 23. In Psalms 23, the whole passage, up to the end of it, the last line, only talks about what God does, what the good shepherd does. So that which you think you are great at, it's given freely by God. So maybe a lot of humility as we do life together goes a long way. Realizing that they are who they are because God has given them. They're good. They have a talent. Yeah, it's God given. And if more of us live that way, I think the ending of Psalms 23 would make more sense for us when he says, "And I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." And we can start that dwelling now by acknowledging that which we think we have is God given. The talent we have is God given. The wealth we have is God given. The looks we have are God given. Even the ones who don't have hair like me. This good look is God given. So if I live in humility, knowing that it's God given, then I live better with people. So do good because we ought to do good. But acknowledge God in the things you do. Live humbly with others.
Coaches, thank you. Thank you for this morning. Thank you for coming and sharing about character. You are dismissed. Have a great day. Have a great Halloween. I will see you on Wednesday.